Hey guys, welcome back to HypnoVision Studios. Today we're going to be talking about intuition, how to unlock it, how to trust it, and how to cultivate and even understand what your intuition is trying to tell you. Now, before we dive in, I have a very special message for one particular person out there. Your intuition was never truly blocked. You just weren't following your heart. So, guys, when it comes to intuition, there are many different ways that we can cultivate and understand what it is that our intuition or our inner feeling, if I can get the words out, is trying to tell us. I want to read something to you about the heart itself. And yes, the green behind me is very symbolic for the heart chakra. The green, which is the center of the rainbow, 528 hertz invisible light. Very interesting when we talk about sound healing, sound resonance, and harmonics in general. Whether it's light waves or sound waves, they are closely tied to the human condition, the brain waves of consciousness itself, the heart rhythm itself. So let's read this caption here. Heart intuition refers to the concept that the heart possesses an intuitive intelligence capable of receiving and processing information independently of the brain. Get that. The heart is capable of processing intuitive intelligence independently of the brain. Math Heart Institute researchers suggest that the heart can receive intuitive information slightly faster than the brain. Wow, guys, look at this. Can you see that on camera? It's amazing. It truly is amazing. And I want all of you out there to know that every one of you has this ability. You first have to start to practice and cultivate it to broaden and understand what that ability is. So this is coming from the HeartMath-Inspired, and the researchers suggest that the heart can receive information slightly faster than the brain. And this intuitive guidance can be used for decision making, creativity, and deeper connections with oneself and others. The heart is not just a pump. It has its own nervous system and electromagnetic field, enabling process information to generate feelings. Wow. Now, my last video, which was on celibacy and semen retention, we talked about magnetism, which has been another one of those topics that has reoccurred on my channel quite often. Even Nikola Tesla was deeply involved with electromagnetism itself. What does it mean to be magnetic? We understand through even the HeartMath-Inspired, and they've done a lot of studies of this, where the heart field, the electromagnetic field of the heart, is way bigger than that of the brain itself. So the heart center, I am the way, as Jesus said, through the heart. An open heart is much more capable of receiving the information and processing the information. So oftentimes our gut feelings are actually trying to tell us something. And even when we do shadow work, if you know anything about Carl Jung's work and the different archetypes and the different variations of doing shadow work, when you feel resistance about something, that is part of your intuition trying to tell you something. Now, in life, we have things that are good and bad. And our gut feelings are always trying to steer us in different directions. When we know that something is bad for us and we do it anyway, what do you think our gut feeling is trying to prevent us from doing? Taking action towards something that we know is not going to have a good outcome. And sometimes we just don't listen or follow our heart. And this is really backing that up. But the good news about all of this is, your past, it doesn't define you, because the present moment is all that truly exists. So get this, intuitive signals, changes in heart rhythm patterns can be associated with intuitive feelings and perceptions, suggesting a direct link between the heart and intuitive processes. Slowing down the mind and tuning into the heart's feelings, individuals can utilize their heart's intuitive guidance for better choices in navigating life's complexities. I got a feeling that pretty much this whole video, I'm just going to be radiating chills, and that's okay. Some practical applications for this from the HeartMath research highlights the potential for the heart intuition in various aspects of life, including decision-making, creativity, and building more meaningful relationships. Now, creativity itself is a very interesting thing because it does actually revolve around feelings. Now, I myself, and I don't know about any one of you out there in the audience, have grown up in a situation or known others where they grew up where you weren't allowed to express your feelings. You were told to keep them to yourself. You weren't allowed to express things that you were feeling. And if you asked why, sometimes people didn't have an answer. And this is because society itself has disconnected itself from its intuition. Now, it's always there. It doesn't mean that you have disconnected and it just goes away and it never comes back. You have to start listening to your intuition, which means that you have to slow down. When we try to control everything from the mind, and we understand that the heart field is way bigger than the brain electromagnetic field, then we can start to see how we are thinking small and we are ignoring our feelings and we are pushing them down, suppressing our feelings. Then we start to feel bad about things. We try to force our way through things. And that is where we start to find ourselves running in circles, hitting our heads against a wall, and not really listening to that inner voice internally. So I want to jump over to another section and talk about ways that we can cultivate the intuition itself and start to really change your life in ways that you could only dream about. But guess what, guys? Dreams come true. So to unlock intuition and to cultivate self-awareness, part of this has to do with how we identify with ourselves. So many times in the last 3 years since I've been practicing not just celibacy, but a lot of different things. I've done a lot of shadow work. I've done a lot of self-reflection and journaling. So there has been a lot of times in this own process where I start to understand the self-identification versus other people when they identify with someone else on the outside. We all want to be liked, so we want to be like other people. Now, the slippery slope in that is we can lose ourselves in the process of trying to be like someone else. It is true, if you want to be a millionaire, you need to think, act, and surround yourself with the same type people. But that doesn't mean that you should lose yourself in the process and become someone else. So ways that we can cultivate our intuition is to quiet the mind and trust the inner voice. Practices like meditation, mindfulness, journaling, and spending time in nature can help you connect with your intuition. Regularly practicing these techniques can help you strengthen your intuition and help you make more confident decisions. So, number one, you're probably wondering, how do I quiet my mind? How do I stop all that monkey chatter that is going on constantly in my head? A few years ago, I wrote on a piece of paper this really crude scribble of what was going on internally. All these arrows pointing in different directions and overthinking and worrying and this and that and all kinds of stuff. So I understand the whirlwind effect of overthinking things, being too much in our head and closing off our heart and guarding ourselves so we don't get hurt again because of the past experiences that we have had have created conditions where we don't want to relive those things. But the very fact that we are still holding on to it, we are still giving it life by giving it energy and keeping it alive in our imagination. So that brings us to the next part, mindfulness. And this is simply one of those things where the mind is full of things and it needs to be released. So if we can empty out our mind then we can start to understand how that quietens the mind, right? Worry is probably one of the biggest things that really amps up the mind and gets it in high gear. And at the end of the day, all it's done is cause you to have anxiety. And anxiety is what? It's just an emotional state of being. The physical body is safe, right? You can be in a room by yourself and know that you are safe. There's nothing going to happen to you, but your monkey chatter in mind can be ramped up thinking about all kinds of things and creating all these illusions in the imagination that are sending the signals down into the body and creating and changing the atmosphere, the chemistry of the body, which is creating that anxiety feeling. So when we learn to quiet the mind, we are also emptying out those thoughts and allowing us to return to a different emotional state of being. Very interesting stuff. Journaling. I stand by this one big time, guys, because it's not just about writing about your life experiences or trying to figure out how you feel about something or what to do about X, Y, and Z. Journaling is a way to take something out of your head, put it on a piece of paper. Now, you can always come back to it later. So that takes a part of the worry away, right? I don't have to hold on to this mentally. I can put it on paper and put it to the side. Now, I know I won't forget it. I can always come back to it. So that is another way that we can allow ourselves to quiet the mind. Spending time in nature. Now, there is a lot of studies out there that show if you go stand barefooted in the grass, we start to exchange the ions from the earth. We are receiving ions from Mother Gaia. Now, there is a lot of benefits that come from this. And yes, I get it. There are people out there that make fun of people who hug trees. But there's a lot of truth to this, guys. So yes, being outside in nature, sitting still, listening to the birds, listening to different things that are happening outside, really connects you back to nature, which is, to me, honestly, there's no words in nature, right? The language of nature is not the same as human spoken words. So it allows us to empty out all those descriptions and prescriptions and the worries and the fears. We can just empty our mind out. Regularly practicing these techniques, it does indeed help you to strengthen your intuition. Meditation helps quiet the mental chatter and allows you to tune into your inner self. That inner voice is oftentimes the voice that we are arguing with. We are arguing with ourselves and we are creating inner conflict within ourselves. And this is also keeping tension within the body. Mindfulness and practice being present in the moment, noticing your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Now, guys, this is a real big one here. Self-judgment. We are our own worst critic. The fear of being seen is something that I suspect on a more mass scale that most humans can relate to. Being seen as imperfect, being seen as not having the answer, being seen for making the wrong decision. The fear of judgment is one that we place over ourselves. And I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't even know this until I started to practice some of these very techniques myself. It was very self-realizing, like, wow, if I'm having the same dynamic with multiple people, is it those people that are in the same energy, or is it me and they are reacting to my input and I am not liking the output I'm getting back from them? Boom, light bulb went off, and I started to realize the patterns within myself and the patterns within other people. Now, role play is another thing, right? When we think about role play, we think about kinky things, right? We're gonna role play doctor and nurse in the bedroom tonight. No, I'm talking about the role play of life, the theater of life, because we are actors taking action on our thoughts and our beliefs. So when we start to practice mindfulness and noticing our thoughts, we observe our thoughts as neither good or bad. They are just thoughts that are passing by in our awareness. So self-awareness of the types of thoughts. This is like tuning into different radio stations. You might hear a song that you like and you stop on that dial and you are tuned in to a certain frequency which is carrying the song that you like. If something comes on that you don't like, the first thing you do is change the channel. You don't turn up the volume. And the human mind has a weird way of working sometimes where we will turn up the volume on things that we don't like and then experience more of it. So there is this effect that is kind of the opposite. And I experienced this myself with certain things where I'm like, I don't want this in my life. And the more that I thought about how much I didn't want something, the more I was pushing on something to push it out of my head, the more I was giving it energy, the more I was ramping it up to push it out, which was actually keeping it active in my imagination. Now, that is just a self-awareness thing that I'm just trying to share with you guys, that it is a real thing. The more you try to not think about something, the more you actually actively are thinking about something. So to change direction from what you don't like, and just like turning the channel on a TV or a radio and tuning into a different song or a different TV show. Some of the other things we can do is body scans. Pay attention to the physical sensations. Now, in Neville Goddard's work, he said sensations always follow, they never precede. Just like when I get hit with those waves of goosebumps and chills, it is following the thought, and then I am experiencing the reaction to it. So when we become less reactive to the thoughts that we are having by judging our thoughts, we are allowing things to pass without resistance. And then when something comes along that we do like, and we grab a hold of that through our awareness, we amplify it. So if it's something good, something in alignment, our body is going to send us a physical sensation. Yes, this is in alignment. Yes, this feels good. Yes, this is for you. So following your intuition in this type way and practicing some of these techniques will help you to really tap into yourself. The body scans and how your body reacts to different situations. Again, the gut feeling that we have, if you feel like something is off, it doesn't always mean that you're imagining that something is off. Sometimes it really is off. And trusting your gut intuition is simply following your heart. Very interesting. Yoga is another one. These practices promote body awareness and can help release tension. Something very interesting about that, the body awareness. If for men, for example, and even women who exercise and work out, you start to cultivate this mind-body connection. And in the bodybuilding world of things, some of you already know this, the connection between the mind and the body. If you were working biceps, for example, you want to isolate the bicep and really focus on that particular muscle. You're honing in your attention, your awareness onto the bicep. It is really starting to dial into specific areas of the body. Now, I've gave this example before. I had a lot of tension in this right temple of mine for many years. And when I started to practice meditation and allow myself to get in that deep, deep meditative state, I started to notice the tension to go away. And through the observation of my thoughts, every time that I felt the tension come up, I would notice the thoughts that I was having at the time it was happening. This helped me to understand exactly what conditions that I had experienced previously in my past that were causing that particular tension in that area of my body. Now, these things take time to cultivate, take time to really hone in on, but it is very, very possible to really have a deeper understanding of self and allows for you to have a deeper understanding of other people. Engaging your intuition. Writing down your thoughts, feelings, and intuitive hits can help you identify patterns and deepen your connection with your inner voice. Creative activities. Engaging in activities like drawing, doodling, or art journaling to access the subconscious mind. Now, in Neville Goller's work, he actually speaks about how the modern terminology of conscious and subconscious is really kind of misleading because everything comes from the imagination. So you could also see this in a way of subconscious would be the things that are unseen within the imagination, or either things that you have pushed down in a feeling aspect. Expressing your feelings is something that not everyone is comfortable doing. And that really does have a lot to do with how you were raised, the environment, the caregivers, the parents, the school. All sorts of variations of things lead to how we feel comfortable or not feel comfortable with expressing feelings. So spending time in nature again and listening to guided visualizations. These can help you access areas of your consciousness and explore different possibilities. Now, through my own research on this channel, I learned that when we don't have the self-awareness and we don't have the understanding of the present moment, we are building the experience off of everything that has happened in the past. It's a combination of our life events rolled into one, and we are playing out these scenarios. We try to predict things based upon the past, which really does limit us and kind of puts us into this scarcity mindset where we are afraid to go into the unknown things that are not familiar with us, step into our own power and try something different. So I do find that to be very interesting because guided visualizations can help us see things within ourselves that we didn't know were there. Daydreaming is another. Allowing yourself to daydream can unlock new ideas and perspectives. Now, when I first started to practice with meditation, I would have these short sessions where within a 20-minute session, I could get into that deep, relaxed state. Now, over the past few years, there were times where I couldn't get back into that state because there was a lot of external things going on in my life. So even when I would sit down, I would feel myself want to get back up. That is a inner conflict within the body. And when I first started to learn, I had to force myself to sit still. Every time I wanted to sit up, every time I wanted to get out of my meditation chair, I had to tell myself, sit, be still, don't move, don't flinch, relax. And that goes back to the body scans. What part of your body is reacting when these thoughts are coming up? I got X, Y, and Z. I'm worried about this. If I sit here too long, then I can't do this. Relax. Just relax. When you release that tension, you are allowing things to start to flow again. Spending time in nature, we've already covered. Daydreaming. And test your hunch. Act on a gut feeling and see what happens. Now, when I see test your hunch, this brings me back to the serendipity mysteries and to take a theory and put it into practice. Practice is to rehearse. So in theory and practice, which also brings me back to Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the patterns of the outside world, but be renewed by renewing the mind. And then test the theory to see if it's good and pleasing to God. So if it's in alignment, those sensations, your gut feeling will always be your best guide. So deep trust is another one. And it even says, wow, I didn't even see this on the screen a while ago. Does this mean that I'm really dialed in here, guys? Deepen your trust. Pay attention to serendipity. Notice meaningful coincidences and synchronicities. Wow. So let's talk about synchronicities for just a minute. When it comes to synchronicities, right, something is in sync, there is coherence. As a DJ myself, when I am trying to mix tracks, they have to be in sync with each other, which means one track either needs to speed up or slow down to be a synchronistic match to the sound of the other track, which means they sound perfectly in alignment with each other. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with the harmonics and the different pitches or tones. This is really about the speed being in synchronization. So our brain, much in the same way, You may have heard me talk about hemisynchronization before, or binaural beats, which is synchronizing both hemispheres of the brain, because one is more analytical, one is more creative, and one side can be more active than the other side. So we want to synchronize both hemispheres of the brain and observe right from the middle. We can be pretty much balanced in how we analyze things and be a little bit more creative. So this is the bridge that creates connection between concepts and ideas. It also gives us structure on the analytical side of the mind to hold that creativity and to move it into a physical manifestation or an idea being brought into fruition. Practice listening to others. Pay attention to not only what people say, but also their energy and emotions, basically the tone of how they are saying it. This can mirror your own intuition. Now, in Neville Goddard's work, he says that others appear to us as messengers telling us the emotional state that we are in. So if we are listening to the tone of other people, there is a lot more information that can be heard than when we are just really in our head and we are just kind of not listening to really understand. Be patient and persistent. Yes, even Neville Goddard talks about the persistence within imagination and a firmly held attention span and repetition. This goes back to affirmations and then allowing yourself to feel the affirmations, but most importantly, giving yourself permission to feel. And this is also closely tied to forgiveness. Not so much about forgiving others, but forgiving yourself. If we come to an awareness that, hey, I've actually been holding on to something for so long and I didn't even know how it was affecting my body, I forgive myself. Now I can let go and release it. And that forgiveness of self allows me to experience more happiness, peace, joy, love, and fulfillment because it changes the chemical makeup of the body. I find all this stuff to be very interesting, and I hope that you guys out there do too. So your intuition is inherently part of who you are. Your abilities to understand goes far beyond the surface level. Why is a very big factor that most people don't even consider. Take this for example. Some of the most well-known people, Tony Robertson for example, often speaks about your why. What is your why for doing what you do? Simon Sinek, I think that's how you say his last name. The why factor, again, is another one of the topics that he speaks about. Steve Jobs talks about following your intuition. All of these people are very successful people. Following your intuition is following your heart, being in alignment with that inner voice. So sometimes our body can be driving us and we are mindlessly going wherever the body takes us. And those are behaviors. And those behaviors are built upon past actions, emotionally driven, emotionally reactive. This is not being present in the moment. This is living a life built on past experiences, and you keep reliving those cycles over and over. This is like being on a hamster wheel. This is like being in Groundhog Day. And guys, I'll be honest, there was a point in my life where I used to say that. I feel like I'm living in Groundhog Day. Every day is the same. I go to work and I come home. I go to work and I come home. And nothing changes. I'm tired of doing this. And once I started to practice things like journaling, once I started to practice semen retention, once I started to really practice a lot of these things, here I am, guys, on YouTube, over 300 plus videos and creating multiple streams of income. So the why factor, number one, follow your heart. It knows the way. Number two, stop resisting what your heart is telling you. Allow yourself to go with the flow of the electrical impulses of the electromagnetic field within your body. When we resist, it is like turning magnets around to the point where they repel each other. When we allow energy to flow, we change the polarity and we are allowing that energy to flow through the nervous system itself. You know, I spoke about the cadeus in my last video, and I put a graphic on the screen where it showed the positive and negative aspects of the nervous system, how energy is flowing within the body. Neville Goddard's work often speaks about the conscious mind and then the heart field, the father and the mother aspect, or the male and female aspects. So lastly, when it comes to intuition and being able to open your heart and get into a more tapped in version of self, to allow yourself to be more free, you have to understand that the aspect of male and female is in every human being. Now, on the surface level, right, we identify by gender by the physical aspects. There is also a lot of identification that goes on in the political world of things, which I'm not going to be diving in this video. But internally, we all either had a mother and a father in our lives, but most importantly, it took a mother and a father to create us. So it took the energy of a male, the energy of a female to come together in conception to create you or me or someone else. We were all created that way. So the energy and that dynamic, the aspect of it, is within each and every one of us. Very interesting again, guys. Your intuition, you could call it your inner guidance. You could call it God speaking to you. You could call it getting a download. Whatever you want to call it, it is that inner voice. And when we are not listening to the inner voice and we were just kind of mindlessly going through life and not understanding the cause and effect of things, and then blaming this and blaming that, well, if this hadn't happened, I wouldn't have had to do this. Those are forms of avoidance. Those are forms of not being accountable. Those are forms of repeating cycles and patterns and learned behaviors from the outside world. And I say this open and honestly to all of you. You have the ability to really change your life, to really allow your dreams to manifest as reality. And what better way, guys, than to allow it to happen and to allow yourself to be seen with all your imperfections? Because I'll be honest with you, you are worthy. You are lovable. You are the most interesting person in the world. And you have a story. And you should be giving yourself permission to tell your story, to speak about your story, to share and listen to other people's stories and learn from each other. That is the human experience. The whole idea that we're just put on this earth to work a 40-hour-a-week job and to pay taxes, that's imagination. That's a bad pretending, to be honest. I'll be dead honest about that. That's terrible use of imagination. I have to be a mindless drone and work this job to pay bills for a house that I can't experience and enjoy because I have to be at my job to pay for it, to pay for the taxes, to pay for all kinds of taxes. There's a tax on everything. If they could tax air, I'm sure they would try it. So again, imagination, mindfulness, and journaling will help us to tap into our intuition. And I myself, one of the biggest things that when I started to write, what made me feel the most alive inside was creating opportunities for others. And when I wrote my blueprint to my channel, not just YouTube channel, but to expand my business, was to create opportunities that would be fulfilling for others. Not just something that was based upon a lack and a need for a paycheck to earn money. So that goes to the understanding of what autotelic means. When something is self-fulfilling, you would do it for free. I've made so many videos, guys, on my channel that have not earned any money. And I don't see that as a discouraging aspect, because again, it takes practice to be better at something, to start to perfect and master a craft. You have to try it. And if you don't try, you never will. Just like the mindset of things, right? If you say that you can't, you have made sure that you won't. If you say that you can, then you know that you will. So allowing yourself, giving yourself permission, and not needing approval, and not judging yourself, that's the biggest one. I actually understood this, that the more a person judges themselves, the more they feel like they are being judged by other people. This is a self-inflicted wound, a self-sabotaging wound. To feel like someone else is judging you is because you are judging yourself. When you stop judging yourself and start observing from a place of neutrality, neither good or bad, neither black or white, I am just allowing myself to feel and follow my heart, your life will begin to improve immediately. And once you start to practice being more present in the moment, you will start to see that that is very true. And guys, I will see you very soon with some more videos. The future is truly bright because you are the future. And I'll see you soon.